the surface of the stomach here, the inner surface, gastric pits, and then as they move on down here, we get the gastric glands. And they become more coiled down here, and they branch. All of these cells, we've got mucus cells and a bunch of different kinds of cells in here, which, do you have the different kinds of cells on your list? Stomach histology?
Yeah, we have,
You have chief cells and...
No,
okay,
no.
then don't worry about that. Okay, so,
just the,
gastric glands, gastric pits.
and then the muscularis externa has 3 layers.
Yes. Before we get to that, this is the muscularis mucosa. Excuse me? Yes. Pits, glands, although the pits lead down into the glands.
Yes.
Muscularis mucosa, and then down here would have to be submucosa. We scroll along. Now we have a few layers of muscle. So this would be innermost oblique, middle circular, and then outer longitudinal. Actually work out reasonably well.
Which one's outer longitudinal?
Out here. And then out here, we have the serosa. Alright, so that was one of the sections. Here's another section. This is just taken from a different part of the stomach. Let's see what we can find here. In this case, you'll notice that there are these large folds of tissue. And remember that the inner, I don't think I talked about this in lecture, but the inner layer of the stomach has rugae, these ridges. And what we're looking at is a cross-section through one of those rugae. The epithelium is doing that. There's the outer epithelium. So there's the outer surface. If I scroll down a bit, you can see how that folds inward. Alright. Now, what layers can we see here? Outer surface, the epithelium on the outside. We have gastric pits, kind of just in here, and then down here, all through here, these are all gastric glands. Can you see how there are 2 different kinds of cells there? Sorry.
The white arrow, is that on the simple epithelium cell right now?
Yeah.
On the top there?
The white arrow happens to be
Simple
right on the
columnar.
simple columnar epithelium.
Thanks.
You see how there are 2 different kinds of cells? There are these dark ones, and then there are these larger, more red cells. Those are 2 different kinds of cells. You need to know about those cells as far as lecture is concerned. I talked about the chief cells and the... didn't I talk about these? Okay. Chief cells and the parietal cells. talked about them in lecture. You'll have to know about their different functions, but you don't have to recognize them. But you can see that even if I did ask you to recognize them, right, it would be two more things you have to see. So I'm not going to do it, but they're not that hard to tell apart. Okay. All right. So these are all gastric gastric pits, gastric glands, and then what's this?
That is the muscularis mucosa.
Muscularis mucosa. Good. And then we work our way inward, and we can see what is all this connective tissue in the middle there. If that's muscularis mucosa, which layer does this have to be? Submucosa. Okay? And that's one of those big ridges. So we know that the rugae are made of submucosa. They have submucosa in their core. All right. These things, by the way, are blood vessels. All right. Keep scrolling in. It's really hard to make out three distinct layers. We do have this very wide band of muscularis externa. So somewhere in here would have to be innermost oblique. Somewhere out here would have to be outer longitudinal. In the middle here, maybe these stripes here would be middle circular. Last section. Okay, so again, inner surface of the stomach. We have the intestinal pits. We have not the intestinal pits, the gastric pits here. Gastric glands down there. What's this? Good. What do we call the layer that includes everything from here up to the inner surface? That includes the epithelium, lamina propria, and the yes, it's called the mucosa. Okay. You can't really see a distinct lamina propria in here, but it's all that space between the epithelial cells. That lamina propria has been invaded by the epithelial cells, invaginating inward. So this is mucosa. Then this must be submucosa, and here we have muscularis externa. Let's see if we can tell the difference between the different layers of muscularis externa. And the answer is not really. This is clearly a separate layer, and then this and this might be separate layers, but they're all kind of interdigitated, not three very clear layers. And it has a lot to do with how it was sliced and what angle it was at. So anyway, this is muscularis externa. There should be three layers, something you have to know for the written exam or for the multiple choice exam. But on this slide, at least, I wouldn't be able to distinguish the three layers from each other. Okay. And then what would this be out here?
Serosa.
Okay, next.